Hey y'all, welcome back to another video of My Creative Life with Kel Sweetie, where we craft, where we thrift, where we celebrate the holidays, and we create art. Today, we are planning this year's Trick or Sweet Challenge. So last year, I finally finished my first Inktober. I know nobody does Inktober anymore, but one of those artist challenge, and surprisingly enough, it was because it was a challenge that I had made all of my own. This year, I plan to keep the tradition alive and create my own challenge once again. Still trying to figure out what my theme is, like, for these challenges that I make. I feel like Furry Little Peach kind of picks words that she thinks is cute, and I see a couple of people who do that, but I want a little bit more structure for mine. I guess I'll talk through some of that today, as well as the idea that I have for today, and planning out kind of an outline of where we need to go, because October is gonna get here anytime soon. Today is the 15th, and that means I basically have 2 weeks to get started on this. So let's get into it. Like I said last year, I hosted my first Trick or Sweet challenge, and the theme was ABCs of Halloween. So I first thought of this cute idea that I would love an ABC like cardboard hardback book that had to do with all of my favorite horror movies and shows and stuff like that. And that kind of bore this idea of an ABC book. So I took the ABCs, associated them with words like B for book or A for act, stuff like that, and then I associated them with my favorite movies and shows from like during the Halloween holiday. It turned out really great. I was really proud of it, and I was extremely proud that I actually finished a challenge for once, and it was my own. I even had a couple of people last year participate, and that was really cool to see. So this year, I want to make sure that I do the same, and I finish the challenge that I create. And for this year's theme, I actually wanted to base it on the Major Arcana tarot cards. I started getting my tarot card tattoos sometime, oh god, I think it's now been 2 years in the making, or a year and a half at the very least, and they are based off of my top favorite albums. I always get compliments on them, and this year I'd come up with the idea, but when I went to Leslie Young, who's an amazing artist here in LA, please check her out. She's, I'll put all of her information somewhere on the screens. You know, I came to her with the idea that I wanted to somehow take the album covers of my favorite albums and translate them onto tarot cards. And I kind of wanted to look at the album, the content of the album, and how closely it related to the tarot card and figure out a way to do that. With the idea, because I wanted to illustrate it my own. And I just haven't gotten around to it, and I think this year is the year that I want to do it. But the difference is that I want to make sure that we're staying in the Halloween spirit, and I have them associated with my favorite shows and my favorite movies. So let's talk through what those are, as well as what the Major Arcana are. So I have a couple of sets of tarot. I do not read as much as I should anymore. I will admit to that. I did really get into Le Morand. I always say it incorrectly because I just don't have the French accent for it. But I absolutely loved it. I felt like a more connection to the cards, and looking into the history of Lenormand, it was just closer associated to my ancestorship. I will admit that before we go into this, I know that there are some of my friends who are tarot readers, and some of y'all might be watching and you're like, Kelsey, that makes no sense that you're making that movie or show with that card. Like, it doesn't associate well. I understand that. Literally, I'm looking at the aesthetics of the card and how to fit the storyline of the movie into the card. I know that that might be like backwards, especially for somebody who actually truly reads. I apologize in advance if it is. all that out the way, I have two decks in front of me. One is a traditional Rider-Waite, and another is actually a deck that my cousin got me. That is the Modern Witch Tarot deck, which is illustrated by Lisa Sterle. Her illustrations are amazing, and I really loved how she took, like, they don't bear very much from the tarot whatsoever, which is something I want to do. I do not want to, I've seen some decks where you look at them and you're not even sure what they are. I want to kind of push myself to meet the parameters of like what the original Rider-Waite deck kind of shows. Let's move through what some of the major arcana are, and then we'll talk about what shows and movies I have on my list to try and fit into these cards. So first off, we have the Fool card, and I'm doing these in this order of ascending. So here are the Fool cards. This one is obviously the Rider-Waite one. And then this is Lisa Sterle's. I am using Lisa's card as inspiration because I really feel like her illustrations are just gorgeous. But I also really feel like she took those illustrations, those original illustrations on the original deck, and made them still like, oh, okay, we just modernized it and feminized it, and we didn't get too far away from the original. And so I really love that. So I really want to use their work as a great place to kind of move. We have the Magician card. Next, we have the High Priestess card. Now that we have an idea of the major arcana that we're working with, let's go through the shows and movies that are some of my favorites. So keep in mind, here's some of my favorites. They're not all horror. They're not all fall-based. They're literally just shows and movies that I love during the holiday October season to watch, to get ready and everything. And so there's a good mix of horror and thriller and animation and kids, just Halloween. I have 5 shows. I felt like 5 was a good number to have as far as shows are concerned. It feels like a solid number. And I don't know, I may do something different on those that are shows just because of them being shows. And I also may just do something different as far as categorizing like what they are. Like the ones that are like kind of fun and Halloween, last year's colors were like this Goosebumps green, this orangey yellow color, like this witchy dark purple. I'm like naming them. Witchy dark purple color, a dark forest green, a darkish orange. I think we just had 5 while I'm thinking back to it. I think those are the colors that we used. And like an off black that we used on a couple of things. I think there was only one that was like completely black, and that was the Get Out one that I drew last year. Some of those are gonna be repeats this year, and I've added a few that I didn't use last year. So we'll see how that works out. But let's go through some of them. So I have listed Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus, Sixth Sense, Scream, Jennifer's Body, The Craft, Coraline, The Shining, Monster House, Sleepy Hollow, Blair Witch Project, Beetlejuice, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Carrie, Silence of the Lambs, Halloween Town, Haunted Mansion. And then for the shows, I have Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Stranger Things, Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and American Horror Story Coven. So yeah, that's our list of movies and shows, as well as our list of major arcana to work with. I kind of need to brainstorm a bit about what fits where, considering what will be drawn for each. What I did last year was making sure that I was, I think, a week ahead. And that gave me enough wiggle room so that I wasn't completely tired and staying up every night just so I can finish something on time. Let's brainstorm around what each show and movie could possibly be with their matching arcana and make a list of basically what this year's challenge is gonna be. So yeah, let's get into that. I recorded that intro sometime very late and I did not get to planning, so here we are a day later, and even today we're probably just gonna get to planning and not drawing yet because today is my anniversary and I wanted to do this before I went out to dinner and forgot about doing anything for the rest of the night. We are going to work through some of these and plan what's gonna go to what so that we can also make an asset so that we can make the announcement like a week before October starts. That is the plan. We will see if the plan actually happens or if I will be announcing on October 1st, which if anybody wanted to participate, they wouldn't be able to. In hindsight, if I do want anybody to participate, this is already going out. It would probably already go out late because today is the 16th already. So no need to focus on what isn't done. I started thinking about my list of shows and movies. And not that I don't love them, but there are a lot on here that were from last year. And I know that some of these that I did last year didn't translate as well as I wish they could have. I think right now the list is pretty like traditional, like everybody watches these Halloween movies. I want to throw a couple of things in there that'll cause people to go, what is that one from? Sixth Sense. Do I want to add Sixth Sense again? I loved my image from Sixth Sense last year, which was S, secret. Cole has a secret, can you guess what it is? And it's like an image of, I'll like put it right here, but it's an image of them, and I really loved how I did that last year. It's getting replaced by Vampire in Brooklyn, which if you've not seen a Vampire in Brooklyn, go watch it. It's directed by Wes Craven. Okay, so we added in Vampire in Brooklyn. So right now the list is Practical Magic, Hocus Pocus, Vampire in Brooklyn, Scream, Jennifer's Body, The Craft, Coraline, The Shining, Monster House, Sleepy Hollow. But should I do Sleepy Hollow or Sweeney Todd? Okay, we're keeping Sleepy Hollow. Blair Witch Project. Should I keep Blair Witch Project out? This is becoming harder than what it needs to be. We have Beetlejuice, we have Rocky Horror Picture Show, we have Carrie, we have Silence of the Lambs, Halloween Town, Haunted Mansion, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Stranger Things, Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, American Horror Story Coven. That's what we have right now. I needed to add Black Vampire. That's all I needed to do. Before I make this, because I could be sitting here all day adding in shows and movies. We'll see how hard it is to assign cards to these. And for any that are really tripping me up, I will consider swapping them out. Okay, I think the easiest way maybe to go about this is looking at the card and then thinking of what show or movie would go with that card rather than looking at the show and thinking of what card would go in that movie. That makes sense? I'm gonna start off with the Fool. Okay, I may need to do this off screen. I feel like this is gonna be harder than I think it is to go through all this. And I feel like me being on camera is gonna make it worse. So let me go through some of these, check back in just a second. Okay, it is later on in the night. But I had to get this list done. Between me and my partner, we came up with some things at dinner. I think it's a good list. So I'm gonna go through each card and the movie or show that it deals with, and why, a little bit on how I plan to do that card. The image is going to show up here. That's how we are going to go about it. Starting off with the Fool, we will use Beetlejuice. This one's going to be pretty simple. Some of them are going to be a bit more like, if you know, you know, but for this, it'll be pretty simple. Just Beetlejuice. It's going to be a pretty spot on representation of the original card. Then for the Magician card, we are going to change it to the Magician's card. On the Magician card, there are 4 suits exemplified. It's why the Magician is kind of all-powerful as number 1, because they're in control of all the suits. So 4 suits, 4 corners, calling the 4 corners. I'm gonna have all 4 girls from the craft holding the suits or being designated to a certain suit. The next card is the High Priestess. Basically, we'll keep to the original design, but I'll be using Carrie. The next one is the Empress. For this one, I'm going to be doing practical magic, and to exemplify practical magic, I'm going to have Sally and Jilly both sharing the throne. Next is the Emperor. We're going to do Vampire in Brooklyn for that one. The Emperor signifies power, control of it. I also just figured Eddie Murphy as a vampire would look pretty nice in a throne. So that one's pretty straightforward. Some of these aren't as deep. Next one is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is representation of both. It's a marriage card, but it also has to do with spirituality, a connection to a higher knowing. I thought conversations of that, especially the marriage portion, I thought that I would use The Shining. And I have this idea of Jack with the axe sitting on like the throne or the chair with an axe in front of Wendy and Danny at the bottom portion of the card. Another witty one. So I can't take credit for this one. My partner actually came up with this one. The next card is the Lovers. I originally thought, okay, let's just do a quick layup here. That's a Buffy card. It'll be Buffy and Angel. I told my partner, and he actually came up with something way better than I could have thought of. So I'm going to give him his flowers on that. He said we should use it for Scream. And the reason why is because if you are a Scream lover or a fan of the franchise, you will know that Stu and Billy are queer-coded. Stu especially is in love with Billy. And now that I've told you that, go watch Scream, and now it'll be blatantly obvious. But we're gonna have Stu and Billy as the 2 lovers at the bottom, standing in front of Ghostface as the winged angel above them. There was that one. The next one is the Chariot. I originally had chosen Sleepy Hollow for this one because I kind of thought, again, that was an easy guess. I ended up nixing that and going with Halloween Town instead. And the Chariot is going to be exemplified by Benny's Taxi. The next card is the Strength card. And for this one, I'm going to do Coraline. I originally had Coraline as the High Priestess card because of the wisdom topic. She was going to be holding her little finder. Got rid of that because I thought it would make way more sense in conjunction with the design of the card, the Strength card, for Coraline to be there with the cat who helps her out. The next card is the Hermit card, and this one will be Silence of the Lambs. So the Hermit figure will be Clarice, but she'll be standing in front, some ways in front of Hannibal Lecter's cell. Wheel of Fortune. Okay, I thought I was kind of smart for this one. So the Wheel of Fortune card will be Hocus Pocus. And the idea is that the wheel in the middle will actually be the book, and the bottom portion will be the sisters, the Sanderson sisters. The top portion will be Danny, Max, and Allison. As for the Sphinx that's usually in the Wheel of Fortune image, I'm going to use Binks. So Binks will be exemplified in it, or rather as the snake. The Justice card will be Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Kind of straightforward if you've watched the show. She's kind of always deciding whether or not to be like the Queen Morning Star down there, or she wants to stay on Earth and be a witch and be with her friends and be more normal. So I thought a Justice card would make sense for her and the decision making. The Hanged one, I gave this one to American Horror Story Coven, and it'll feature Marie Laveau. Not very deep on this one. I knew I wanted to draw her. Like I said before, I want to make sure that I'm including a couple of new ones. The next one is the Death card. This is the one that I ended up making Sleepy Hollow. Temperance. I ended up going with Stranger Things for this. What I'm imagining is Will as the main the main figure in the image. In the water reflection, the idea of the Temperance card is balance, and Will, while him and Elle both go very much between the two worlds of the Upside Down and our universe, I think Will is the one who spent the most amount of time in it, trying to find balance between the two. In the water, the idea is that in the reflection or something, it'll look like it's a part of the Upside Down. So he'll be kind of living in both, since Will's MO is that he does live in both because of how much time he spent in them. The next one is the Devil card, and for this one I did Jennifer's body. The idea is that Needy and Jennifer will be the ones chained at the bottom. The Tower card will be Monster House. The house itself will be the tower, be exemplified by the tower. The next one is the Star card. One thing that I have on my star card that I have tattooed, the Dixie Chicks Wide Open Spaces album is exemplified through that card, and all three of them are pictured. I took that same idea, used the show Charmed, and so the idea that will be with this one is that all three of them kind of are supposed to be this trinity of balance. So Phoebe, considering her personality, will be the one who's in the water, taking the water jug and pouring it out. Piper will live in both, this balance that is also exemplified by the actual figure in the Star card, and then Prue will be on land, dumping out her picture onto land. The Moon one card has to do with unknown and unseen, dark, usually like in reference to darkness because of how the card itself looks, things that like aren't being looked at or aren't uncovered. So I thought that would be a really good one for the Blair Witch Project. I want to have all three of them pictured. I know that there's only two figures in the original image, but I want to have all three of them staring at this moon that maybe has a shadow of the stick figure that's known. Then we have the Sun. This one is where I ended up putting Buffy. I think it makes sense. You know, the Sun card is a very positive card, while Buffy, especially in her later series, is not full of happiness. We're focusing on the earlier times of Buffy, when she was still a child and the chosen one. And instead of this flag in her hand, she'll have a stake. Still wondering if she'll be riding a horse or not, or if I will picture her with Angel, possibly, and still have this background of the sunflowers. We have the Judgment card. We're going to do Rocky Horror Picture Show for this one. And the Gabriel Angel with their trumpet is going to be Dr. Frankenfurter. Those who are coming out of their coffins will be like Rocky and Janet and all of them. And last, we have the World card. This one is going to be pictured by Haunted Mansion. And I am going to use Madame Leota. Madame Leota will be in the middle. And on the four corners will be the graveyard singing bus in every quarter. And that's how we're going to do that one. That is my list. I am now going to make I'm happy with it. before I move forward, I'm happy with it. I think some of these are really witty and interesting. I think my biggest challenge is probably going to be taking the idea that I have in my mind and putting it down. I think for me, sometimes I have these images in my mind, and I think the hardest part isn't necessarily coming up with the ideas, but getting them to translate onto an illustration. Let's do this list. I'll check back in, it'll probably be tomorrow, on what we ended up making, and I'll get back to you. Hello from VoiceOver Kelsey. So I thought the best way to go about this is just doing a time lapse of me designing the prompt list. In a future video, I may do this while designing the actual cards, but I am kind of getting stage fright of drawing while on camera, so we'll see about it. I just wanted to hop on here kind of quickly to talk about art challenges especially during the month of October, and something that I'm experiencing even right now, which is anxiety. I talk about this a little bit more later on in the video, but if you are finding yourself feeling anxious because you are not ahead a whole week on your challenges, which, let's be honest, you have to be a whole week ahead in order to really feel comfortable while doing these challenges, do not freak out. I know that pot meat kettle, I'm freaking out right now, but that's because I literally have my own challenge while wanting to also do other people's challenges. I'm just putting far too much on my plate. But all that being said, do as I say and not as I do. Remember that the whole reason why these challenges were created was literally for the practice of getting better. So if you are not feeling like that's what you're getting out of this, is bettering yourself, then you don't need to be so worried about it. While yes, these challenges do garner followers, that should never be the reason why you make work. And I just wanted to hop in here to kind of remind people of that, because I needed that reminder as well. So enjoy the reveal. Hey y'all, so as I'm talking to you, it has been maybe like 2 weeks since I made the list and got back to y'all and everything, and I've gotten through 2 of the prompts so far. Everything starts this weekend, so while I'm happy to be ahead, the amount that I'm ahead, even if it is a little bit, I'm hoping that maybe sometime tomorrow I can maybe knock out 1 or 2 more. I'm being completely positive about the fact that the second one that I did, definitely, that I'm about to show you, definitely did take a less amount of time than the first card that I did. And I think that's just because I was still figuring out what style I wanted to go in for these. But let's see like what I actually ended up getting through. First is this Beetlejuice. I think it turned out really good. I really love how it turned out. I mean, if you see like here, that less is more that I was talking about as far as the color is concerned, like making sure there was a little bit monochrome for the green. So, but yeah, I think this one turned out really good. You have like the little sandworm in the background, and the grass that he's on is kind of like the turf from like when he was in his little miniature in the movie. And I think that he's a good fit for the card. The second one is, I changed it to the Magician. Yes. So it's the Magician's card instead of just the Magician, and it's for the craft. I luckily found a press image of them that worked really well in my opinion for this. I was going to use the scene as a reference. I was going to use the scene from when they're on the beach and they're calling on Manon, but I could not find, I mean, you know, combination of 90s film, but I could not find anything that was clear enough for me to really reference their faces well. So I found this press image of when they had shot that scene. I guess they had taken these press photos and it worked perfectly. You'll see like in every like character's hands there's a suit. So I kept those. I kept some of, like, if you notice from the card that I'm referencing, there's a lot of foliage and everything around the corners. I kept that as well, just to kind of fill in the card. I also hope that some of these cards, like, you can reference and symbolize, like, the ideas from knowing the movies that they're about, because there are some cards that I am changing. All in all, I am excited for this upcoming month. I've seen a couple of people already start reposting, which is exciting, because it's exciting to see if anybody will do it. I think I was surprised. There were like 2 people who did it last year, a couple of prompts, and it was exciting to just see those couple that I saw, especially since it was my first year doing it, and I'm by no means have no huge substantial following. So, you know, to see even that was really interesting and cool to see that people were like, oh, like your prompt, I'm gonna do it. So we'll see what happens this year. Even if I'm the only person who does it, I think it's gonna be fun. I just have to keep in mind that the reason why I'm doing this is to have fun, because I know that like the type A perfectionist in me is gonna go, you need to have this done on time, you need to have it done on time. And it's like, you're doing this for practice and fun. Remember that, Kelsey. So that is just a reminder also to anybody else during this season who is going to be participating in any Arctober, Inktober art challenges of any kind. And if it's starting to stress you out, it is because you are not doing it for the right reasons anymore. So just a reminder. This is a reminder I'll be telling myself throughout the month, but just a reminder from me to you. Other than that, make sure that you're subscribed if you're new here. Like I said, there's going to be a whole lot of content coming this month. So make sure that you're subscribed, followed, everywhere, because I'm going to be cranking it out. So, yeah, I think that'll be it for today. All right. See ya.